ChatGPT, it's not as good as we all think it is. But that's in context, right? There's a lot of talk about ChatGPT, AI, these generative platforms in the accounting industry and how it can transform all of our work. So what I wanted to go through today is for other accounting firm owners, how can we actually use it that's actually in a beneficial way? There's a lot of good to it. There's a lot of maybe bad to it, and we're not going to go down the controversial route of AI or ChatGPT today, but if not used in the best way, maybe ChatGPT doesn't come off human-like. We'll give you some examples of it today and how we've used it, and maybe some not so great ways and some of our own learnings from that. But there's a lot of good and a lot of efficiency and a lot of new content creation that can come out of that. So what I want to do today is focus more so on how can ChatGPT and AI be helpful for the accounting firm owners, especially in the context of content generation and content creation and social media. There's a lot of ways that ChatGPT can be helpful for us. Training and retention, whether it's financial analysis or content creation, content generation. There's a lot of different things that it can be helpful with. By the way, ChatGPT told me to say that. Let's go through it together. Today is all about social media and content creation. What I want to do today is an experiment with you. I want to go through with you today content creation. Let's start there. Blog writing, right? It's a simple task that we expect ChatGPT to be able to pick up for us and take off our plate. Now, we all know writing blogs, it's great and maybe it's fun and maybe it's exciting, but it can take a ton of time. So it's obviously one of the first areas that we can use AI for. We're going to do two examples. One of them is going to be a simple prompt, write a blog for me. The other one is going to be a more elaborated prompt, giving the AI a little bit more context, giving it a little bit more detail into what we want and how we want it to perform something for us. And then we're going to compare the two blogs in an SEO checker to see how would Google look at these, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really what we care about. We don't just care about writing something for the purpose of writing it. We care about how is this going to help our business? How is this going to help us rank better, drive more traffic, bring more visitors to the page? So let's go through an experiment together. Part one, I'm asking ChatGPT to write a 750-word blog for small businesses about accounting best practices. Here we go. Title of it, Streamline Accounting for Small Businesses, top best practices. What I love off the bat is it kind of brings some natural SEO into this by having different bulleted pieces to the blog. Once this is done generating, I'm going to load it into the SEO checker. Let's kind of see what the score gives it. So I have my text. I'm just going to straight up copy this, as you can see on the screen. Copy the whole blog. I'm going to bring that into a content analysis tool that we use periodically. Focus keywords, accounting best practices. Let's see. So it's looking like we did not get 606 words. We have a little bit low keyword density. There's obviously no images in here, right? We're just doing this from the top down level. Let's just look at the content. There's no subheadings. None of the paragraphs are too long. That's great. About 11.4% of the sentences contain more than 20 words. None of the sentences contain passive voices. That's positive. But the text is a little bit too difficult to read, it's saying. It says try making shorter sentences using less difficult words. 13% of the sentences contain a transition word, less than the recommended amount of 30%. So all in all, it's not a terrible blog, right? We're not getting red flags all over. We do have some green spots in here where we're making some good progress. But now let's redo this. Let's do it with a new prompt where we're actually giving it a little bit more context, telling it to be a little bit more SEO friendly. Let's see how that does for us. Now for the second example, we're going to go through it with a little bit more granularity in the prompt we give it. I think that's the theme that I want to get at today is the amount of granularity and the amount of context you give ChatGPT is really going to dictate how well your prompt or your answer is actually received. For the first one, what we did was give it a very simple prompt. Prompt number 2 that we're giving it, you're an expert content creation specialist with a focus on writing blogs with the top SEO practices. Write a 750-word blog for software small businesses about accounting best practices, and write this from the perspective of an accounting firm and include subheaders and external links. Those were the two of the things that first SEO checker gave us, those were some of the things that were missing. So let's tell ChatGPT to give it to us. I have it here. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to load this blog into that same SEO checker. Let's see what we get. So right off the bat, you'll see your SEO score, right? Granted, take this with a grain of salt, right? There's a million different ways to measure your SEO and how well it's going to perform. So don't take this as the only metric there, right? So right off the bat, the overall score went from a red sign to a yellow sign. So we're making progress, right? If I go down, we're going to use the same focus keyword, accounting best practices. You have a little bit better keyword density. We have a lot better passive voice. We have a lot better of the sentence length, but we're still getting no subheadings, still a little bit too high in the reading test, and a little bit low on the transition words. All in all, we are making better progress, and I'm sure if we go back to that blog in ChatGPT and ask it to create a little bit more context to it, say the keyword density needs to be a little bit higher, tell it that we need internal links, tell it that we need a reading score of 30. I'm sure if you add these things back into there, we'll continue to iterate on the score that we're getting. What's the moral of the story here? The moral is, don't just use ChatGPT solely for the purpose of getting content out the door. The real key here is using the platform and iterating on what you're going to give it. We can't look at AI and ChatGPT in our firms as just being a one and done, load it and forget about it, because it's not going to work for us. We need to iterate on that. We need to spend more time and help it, just as we would other team members on the accounting or FP&A or CFO or tax side of things. We need to spend time with ChatGPT to train it how we want it to perform, just as you would with any other team member. So we talked about content. Now let's talk about the delivery of that content within social media. Content creation, there's a lot of iteration that can go into it, especially using AI to get the best output that kind of fits really the bucket we need it to fit. Now for social media, I don't know if it can be the same approach. Social media is a little bit different, right? Social media is meant to be a little bit more engaging, a little bit more personal. And so we've experimented with some positive, we've had some negative, on how do we really use it in the context of social media. We've done it with video titles or content descriptions. Say on LinkedIn, I have two up here. One of them is written by a human on our team, and one of them is written by ChatGPT. Let me know which one you think is actually written by ChatGPT. They become a little bit hard to tell, right? And maybe some of you can pick up on it as you've learned the algorithm more. But sooner or later, as you give it more prompts, it's going to become more human-like. Another way you can use it, maybe that we don't always recommend, is actually with responses or commenting within LinkedIn or social media, Twitter, Instagram, etc. We haven't had always the best success with that. And the reason being is because sometimes when you're trying to use comments to post, it comes off a little bit too AI-like. We've had experience with that. But it's not really worth you training AI to give it a more human-like response to a LinkedIn or a social media comment, because by the time you could have trained it, you could have written that comment yourself. So that may not be the best use case. Other one could be video titles. Why don't we use AI to write the video title for this? Write me a short and catchy YouTube video title talking about marketing best practices for using ChatGPT for an accounting firm. Whatever we get, we're going to call that this video. So we have mastering ChatGPT, semicolon, boosting your accounting firm's marketing with AI magic. If you found the video, there's something to AI, right? There's something that brought you here, and we didn't write that. A lot of this video was actually produced by AI. A lot of the script I had, a lot of the best practices I had was actually generated by AI. So there's good, there's bad. What it comes down to is how you leverage it and the prompts you give it to give you the most success. If you like the video, let us know in the comments how you would use AI in your accounting firm. What have you found? Are there certain places that you would not recommend using ChatGPT or other AI forms within your content or social media? Or is there another area you want us to explore with AI? Perhaps productivity, efficiency, employee engagement. Let's kind of come all together and figure out how we can use this together. Like and subscribe.
That was great. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Leave us some feedback. Also, check out our website, growthlabfinancial.com. Again, subscribe so you can be notified for the next one.